Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 16th regular meeting of the Zion City Council. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Present.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Here.
Mayor McKinney?
Here. Item number 3 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Brimmer, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brimmer. All right. Leading us in prayer this evening will be Pastor Matt Kearney from Street Chapels. Welcome back.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all. I'd like to read from Isaiah 96 verse. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you that we celebrate the season that you sent your Son Jesus to be the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. I thank you that eventually you send it to heaven and that you are able to bear the weight of all authority, all government. And I know it's a hard responsibility for our leaders here with all the burdens and responsibilities and all the challenges the city faces to put that on their shoulders. And so would you help them bear the weight of this government on their shoulders? And would you be that wonderful counselor that they need? Would you give them wisdom and instruction how to help the city prosper and to help all residents thrive? Even the residents that are here and those that are not able to be here this evening, would you give them divine wisdom? And would you be the mighty God, the all-powerful God that we need, that can move mountains in our lives and in this city? And would you be the father to the fatherless, that everlasting Father? We all need a good father, and I thank you that you can be that for all of us, and that you are extending to us through your Son Jesus eternal life. And most of all, I just pray for peace. You are the Prince of Peace, and this city needs it, this world needs it, as we've seen this week with Brown University and many other challenges that this world is facing. I just pray that you would just answer these prayers in our time, that in this place, would you help us to experience this reality of who you are, and just that you bless this city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Item number 4, are there any agenda changes by any of the commissioners?
Mayor, item 13, closed session is not needed, so I'd like to make a motion that we remove item 13.
All right. Motion by
Second.
McDowell and second by Frierson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 5, is there a motion to go into the public hearing regarding the tax levy?
So moved.
Motion by Fisher,
Second.
second by McDowell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries. Turn it over to our city administrator, Mr. David Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This public hearing is a statutory requirement from the state to present what our proposed levy may be, as well as give the public an opportunity to provide feedback before we go to approve the levy at a subsequent meeting. We are also required, if we're going up by more than 5%, to file a truth in taxation disclosure, which we did in the newspaper. Generated some buzz because it was an increase of 8.7% over the prior year. And there's a lot of detail behind that, but basically the increase is because of the CEJA legislation, which was the funding that we're getting from the state to help reduce taxes. The way the language was written, it says for us to be eligible for reimbursement under that grant, 75% of those funds had to be used for abatement. Now, abatement is basically just like a reduction. We have to file an abatement ordinance, reducing our levy. But last year, we reduced our levy by $1 million over where it would have been. But that $1 million reduction, and if you all look at your property tax bills, you would have seen the City of Zion portion was a negative, even though your tax bills probably went up overall. We reduced it $1 million, but that's not eligible for reimbursement. So we have to basically reset that to then reduce it back down with the abatement to be eligible to get those funds. So your increase, your truth in taxation is based on your prior year amount, which was the lower amount. PTEL caps, which say you can only go up 2.9%, is based on the highest of your prior 3 years. So we're still subject to PTEL, and we're only going up $300,000 over 2 years ago. But because of that reduction, it's looking like a spike. But just for, I'm throwing a lot at you here, but just so you know, the abatement under the CJA grant is just a little over $1.5 million. So once we apply the abatement, we'll actually be at an extension of $7.5 million, which represents a 9.2% decrease from the prior year. So we have to increase to decrease, and it'll go even more. And that'll actually represent a 14% decrease in our levy over the prior 2 years. So it's a legislative requirement that we have to do this, but the end result will be a lower, even lower than the prior year when we reduced our levy, based on the second year of funding from CJA. Okay. And happy to dig more into that, but for people that have been at my dollars and cents presentations or listened to how our taxes work and everything, it's a very complicated issue, and I worry that I'd go into too much detail on it once you start digging in. One challenge that is also hitting this year, and I've talked about it in prior years, is you may hear about like Illinois pension systems being, and having a challenge over in a pension crisis. It's been hitting us for multiple years, and it really hit us this year because the state says you have to put this amount in for police, fire, and IMRF. And there's an actuarial calculation each year that says, here's the amount you have to put in. Those amounts that we have to put in and levy for have been going up by more than what we can actually increase the levy by under the PTEL, Property Tax Extension Limitation Law. So for example, we're going up $300,000 from our highest extension base, but the amount we have to put into the police and fire pensions actually went up almost $500,000. And that's been the case every year for quite a few years, where that pension liability is growing faster than levy can increase. So that difference has to come off somewhere else. And it's been eroding at our general fund levy. And I said time and again, it's going to hit us at one point where we're not going to have any general fund levy because everything has to go to the pensions and the other special revenue fund. That's this year. So you'll see on here on the breakdown, our corporate, which is our general fund levy, is actually zero this year. So not a single penny of that is going towards, of our levy is going towards general operations. It's going towards liability insurance, IMRF, and the police and fire pensions. That is a result of a formula that was set by the state to say you have to have pensions funded by 2040. And that was set, I don't know how many years ago, but I think it was a 20-year or 25-year period, basically to kick the can down the road. 2040 is so far off, nobody, we're never going to have to fix that. Well, if this stuff sneaks up on us. So I included from IML, Illinois Municipal League, a breakdown of all of the pension funds for all across the state and how a lot of these pension funds have dealt with their pension crisis is basically extending the date by which it has to be funded. Basically, like if you were to, refinance your mortgage, you could extend it out and lower your payments. That's what they're doing, but the downstate police and fire pension funds are the newest ones or the closest ones on the amortization date. Number one on the list that we have to have funded by 2040, everything else extended out. So that's a reason why the amount we have to put into the pension funds keeps going up every year because we get closer to that 2040 date. And they say, well, okay, now you really need to put more money in because we're getting close to that. There is legislation proposed, not yet passed, to extend that amortization date. And I don't know if it's 2045 or 2050. 2050. So if that passed, which every year it gets closer and closer to getting passed, that would basically then in future years say, okay, instead of 3.2 million and 2 million for police and fire, your payment will go down, the amount you have to levy will go down, and then that will free up funds again back to our general fund and kind of fix this issue. But until then, we're stuck with this crisis where, I think I have in here 20 years ago or 10 years ago, the pension funds were only 34% of our total levy, and now they're 58% of our total levy. So just in 10 years, 24% of our levy has been eroded basically to go to pension funds. 20 years ago, it was only 21% that the pension funds were on our levy. So again, if you look at your tax bills, you'll see a City of Zion and you'll see City of Zion pension on the breakdowns. The biggest chunk of that is the pensions because of this amortization date that nobody wants to touch. But that would be the fix, is either extending that date or turning it to like a rolling 20-year average. And we're working with our legislators to make sure that gets pushed. So those are the two big parts of this, is the increase because of CEJA that will then be reduced because of abatement, but also it's going to be interesting on the next year's budget when we don't have any funds in our general fund, but that's because of the pensions versus the PTEL cap. I could go into a lot more detail, but I'll leave that to if there's any questions. Most of the levies are the same. The other funds, street and bridge, IMRF, liability insurance, fire protection, those are all similar to prior years. It's just the reduction of the general fund and the reduction of the pensions because of the caps. So ultimately, we'd be looking at a $9,085,646 levy that we'll be putting forth at a subsequent meeting for approval.
Administrator Nabel, I see that we have some residents here that haven't been here before. So could you give a brief explanation for those that are here to talk about the CEJA money and how it came about?
Sure. So, try and keep it brief, but probably 12 or 13 years ago, we started trying to pursue federal funding for when the nuclear power plant closed. We lost a big chunk of our tax base, and that shifted burden onto residents and businesses for those taxes. And we said, well, the waste is still here though, and we wanted that moved. That was never the deal, is to have the waste here, but none of the benefits of the plant, the jobs, and the taxes. And we were trying to pursue legislation federally to compensate us for that under the Nuclear Waste Policy Act. We had issues with, federal government and other things coming up, and this was such a localized and specific issue that we couldn't get the traction needed. But years later, the state of Illinois was considering a bailout for two of the power plants downstate. And we reached out to our legislators and we said, don't you dare bail those places out without addressing the mess that was left here. So they shouldn't get a bailout without the community of Zion getting compensated for them leaving the waste here. So our legislators took that, ran with it, and in the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, that's what CJIS stands for, they wrote in there saying that $14.5 million a year would go to the Zion community, to the Zion taxing bodies. The intent being those funds would be used to offset property taxes, because that was the impact of the closure. Was you look back and there was a 135% jump in taxes when the plant closed. So the direct impact of the closure was an increase in taxes. The compensation because of the nuclear waste should go to reduce the taxes. So the legislation was written, it was passed. There was not specific language in there about the abatements, about the tax reduction. So in the first 2 years, the funds were used for capital projects, things like that. We received $1.5 million from the first round of funding, and that's what we used to reduce our levy $1 million last year. But since then, the legislation was amended to say 75% of what goes to the Zion taxing bodies has to be used for property tax abatement. So it's requiring all of the taxing bodies, the schools, the library, everything, to use 75% of the funds they receive under CJA that we fought for to reduce taxes. So that's what we're dealing with now, is that when I talk about the language saying it requires abatement, that's where we have to pass that abatement resolution to reduce our levy. We did it already last year, even though it wasn't required under the legislation. But to continue complying with the legislation, every taxing body will have to access those funds, every taxing body will have to do an abatement.
And if I'm correct, we did it initially from a city standpoint to show our residents that we were serious about reducing our property taxes, and we were working with the other taxing body, the schools, which is the bigger property base, the high school, District 126 and District 6, to be the model for them to reduce their levies in order to help our residents out. Because we're only 15% of the property tax bill here in Zion.
You can see that on your way out today, if you want to take a look at the pie chart in the lobby there, it shows how much of basically every dollar of taxes goes to the different entities. And as the mayor said, we're 15%, so yes, we reduced our levy, but we can't even reduce it enough to offset increases by the other taxing bodies because we're just a small part of that total. But we're still committed to that, as the mayor said, to kind of lead the charge, set an example, and try and help our residents to the extent possible while still providing police, fire, streets, all that stuff. So.
And the money from CJA amounts to about $15 million a year, which is what we would have been getting from the Nuclear Waste Act of 1982 had the federal government follow their guidelines in being able to pay us for dealing with a shuttered nuclear plant. We were getting $19 million a year in property taxes from the power plant, and that's been reduced to 1.5 million, about 1.5. So that's a heavy load to lift for our residents. So we've been working for Administrator Nabel said for the last 13 years or so to try to come up with a solution, and our state rep and our state senator, Mary Lee Allen and Joyce Mason, have worked with us to make sure this happened. Any other questions from our commissioners about this?
I have a few thoughts. One, I guess to your point, us reducing the levy versus abating, my understanding is that was also done to try and prevent big pops down the line. So we were trying to smooth that tax reduction to taxpayers so we could also lower the base by using that CJA money responsibly. Is that?
That's correct. So what Commissioner Frierson's referring to is abatements are basically a temporary agreement to not collect funds. So if we say, hey, we're going to collect $1 million, or we levy $1 million, if we didn't do any abatements, we'd be basically saying we're going to collect $1 million from all the residents and businesses. We can levy $1 million, and then if we say, hey, this year we're going to abate $200,000, our levy stays at $1 million, but then the county on the tax bill only puts 800,000. But if we don't abate the following year, then it jumps back up to that $1 million. So you have to abate every year to keep that level down. And that's one of the challenges of abatements is, and one of the things we're concerned about is at some point, if that funding goes away or whatever, or that abatement goes away, all of a sudden you have a huge spike in taxes, and games can be played with that language and those abatements to say, okay, we kept our levy of $1 million flat, but your taxes are still going to go up by $200,000 in total because we don't abate anymore. And so we wanted to take away all the games and all the kind of the shell game of that, and we just said, we're just going to reduce our levy. And then the language came out saying,
Right.
to get the funds, you have to do abatement. And we're like, reset it, reduce it, but we had to follow the compliance of the publishing and all that stuff. So
Yep.
the ideal would be just to reduce the levy, but
Yep.
then we lose access to the funds.
Makes sense. The other question I had interesting about this decrease in funding for the pension, can you talk a little bit about how that decrement is coming? And to give it context, the markets have been doing fairly well, so I'm not sure how our investment portfolios are for the funds. But are we just paying out that much in pension that the increases that we're having in the markets are not keeping up? Or what's that math look like?
That's a part of it. That's a large part of it is if pension amounts or pension participants are living longer, having higher salaries, and we're not putting as much in, even with good returns, actuarially, which is an actuary basically makes assumptions about longevity, length of life, percent returns. They can only say, we assume a 6.25% return. Regardless of how the markets are working, they're stuck saying, you're only going to get 6.25% over the next 15 years.
Okay.
So they calculate based on that assumed return. If our return is higher, you may see it in future actuarial calculations, but that can't reflect the current amount.
Got it.
And the reason a lot of this grows, and I when you talk fire pensions or police pensions and levies, people's eyes glaze over, understandably. But people understand credit card bills, and basically what we're doing is, like, if you have a credit card balance, it might say your minimum payment's $100, but the interest on that payment is $115. So you make your minimum payment, but your credit card bill is actually going to go up $15 because you're not even making enough of a payment to cover the interest that keeps going on.
Right.
That's kind of what happens here with the pensions is the amount you need is continuing to go up, and we're making a minimum payment. So next, on your credit card, the next month, the minimum payment might be $105 now because that interest was added. That's what's happening here is every year our minimum is going up because we're still underfunded on the total. And it's going up by more than we're able to catch up on.
Part of that is also the 2040 year date,
Yeah.
where it's a requirement by statute to be 90% funded by that 2040. So the actuary is looking at that number and escalating it appropriately to meet the 90% funding by the date that's listed. That's why there's legislation that's being presented. My hope is early in January, and when we get, we'll push that date forward to reset and bring things down.
Thank you.
That's a great analogy about the credit cards, and also for our residents, we've been working hard with the Illinois Municipal League, all the mayors throughout the state to have pension reform, because it's not a problem just with the city of Zion. This is an issue and a challenge for every municipality in the state of Illinois. So we're really pressing the governor and his staff about some kind of pension reform that will help us reduce those costs while still funding the mandated amounts.
Well, just to add to Chief's point, one of the other frustrations is they're saying you have to be funded, 90% funded by 2040. We have police officers and firefighters starting now who for you to even collect a pension, you have to have 20 years of service. Well, guess what? That's 2045. So we have to fund it fully by, or 90% by 2040 for people who aren't even eligible to get those pensions until 5 years later. So there's a big mismatch with the legislation and the pension rules that has to be addressed.
Are there any additional questions from our council?
I think
just have
David's covered.
a couple comments. So it seems that we attempted to utilize this money for the benefit of our residents by lowering our levies, but other taxing bodies didn't see it that way. Although I think at the very beginning, it was presented to other taxing bodies so that this would be a benefit to our residents and they would lower their levies, but they chose not to. And so that's why we have this legislation that requires abatement, which for us is not a good thing. It would be easier for us to lower our levies.
It would.
And that's why it sounds so complicated, that we have to increase our levy so that we can abate to comply with this new legislation. But those requirements were because it was not used as it should be used for the benefit of our community. But I think the bottom line is important. And so the bottom line is our tax rate is actually going to go down because of this abatement.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could just speak to that, David. It's going to go down and there's going to be a decrease in taxes from the city.
Yes. So as I said, if you looked at this year's tax bill, a lot of people's tax bills went up in total, which we understand. If you look at the lower left of your bill, it'll show how much goes to each of the taxing bodies. Everyone's went up compared to the prior year, except for Zion's and I believe the township. Township's an even smaller piece of the total tax bill. So, you know, your city portion might have gone down by $25, $30 because we're only 15% of the bill. Whereas if you have the school districts who are 72% of the total bill, you might see theirs went up $400. We can't reduce ours enough to offset those increases. So that's why we're trying to, we went back to the legislation and said we wanted to require abatement so that everyone has to abate and reduce so that we can actually have movement in a positive direction to reduce taxes overall. So as you said, our rate, pre-abatement, actually our rate will even go down. Just because of property values increasing by more than the tax rate increase. But we expect another, however much your amount went down from the city of Zion on this year's, we would expect to see that go down by that amount again. So, like I said, over 2 years, the city's levy is at 14% decrease from where it was 2 years ago.
So it sounded like a bad thing when we had to say, well, the reason for this public hearing is because we had to increase our levy.
Yes.
But that's because of the legislation. But the end result is actually a benefit to our residents.
Correct. The truth in taxation law is very specific on how you have to publish notice for your levy increase, and it doesn't allow explanation for, yes, we're doing this, but, so putting that in there is, we just have to take the hit on that, and we appreciate everyone that came out to actually understand it, because you may see on Facebook or hear from, you know, your barber or whatever, oh, Zion's increasing their levy 8.7%. It's like, yeah, but that's not the whole story. There's more to it. The end result will be continued reduction of the city's property taxes.
All right, any other comments from our commissioners? Do any of our residents that are here have any questions about what we just discussed with the tax levy? Yes, sir. You can come up here and ask the question.
Good evening, everyone. Maurice Jones in the Cypress Park community. Just a question on, you talking about the whole taxing body. Do you have the power to bring the head of each one of those taxing bodies here so we can talk to them about Zion will lower theirs, but you're not lowering yours? So we can all look them in the eye and they can tell us that we're not gonna lower ours because.
To tell you the truth, I don't know if we have the power to do that, but we've been working with them independently in a group. And the best way to do it is to attend some of their board meetings. The residents, and this is one of the things that we've been trying to get more participation at our city council meetings, so we appreciate you coming out to ask these kind of questions. A lot of people will call me about issues with the schools or the park district. Those are totally not like Chicago. We're not like Chicago, but we have been working in a group for the last 10, 12 years with those leaders and stressing that message and telling them the importance of reducing their levies, because we have residents that we get calls from every day that are talking about, look, I can't afford my medication. I can't afford basic necessities. We just returned from a hearing this afternoon where the City of Hope is trying to get property tax exempt status, which would kill us. It would be like the nuclear plant leaving. Fortunately, the Board of Review sided with us and didn't allow the exemption, but it's so important for our residents to be involved and to go to those school board members and look at them, because some of those people, they live in our community and they're the ones that are not trying to be inflammatory, but they're the ones that are making the decisions that are impacting our residents in an adverse manner.
And I understand what you're saying, but we all know that once I talk to you guys, you tell me what you have to tell me. Then when I go to their meeting and you're not there, they say something different. Then I go to that meeting and you're not there, and the school board not there, then they say something different. If we're all in the same room talking to each other, not to be pitting as a fight, but now I can say what I have to say, and then you can turn and say, well, you know, you can say what you have to say face to face with them while we're all in the same room.
Yeah, so what's great about that, so one of the things that we've been doing over the last several years, I believe since I've been mayor, is we've had quarterly meetings with our residents, and all the taxing bodies are there. And the first time we had this, we had probably 300 residents show up. So all of the taxing bodies were able to present what they were doing, and the residents were able to ask us the very questions that you're talking about. We are in need of having one of those again, which we want to pick up in 2026. But what we found, I'm just so glad to see so many different people come out tonight, because we usually have the same 5 to 10 people that show up at a meeting. So for us to do this, that we can do. We can set up one of the quarterly meetings that we have and have that discussions for residents to ask the questions and for us to all answer. And what happened with some of these meetings, the last couple of meetings, they became a dog and pony show. Instead of answering the questions directly, which all of us, any question that you have to ask, we're going to answer those. We're going to respond to those. But the main purpose of those meetings is for our residents to get answers and make us all accountable. So we'll do that. And I think that's been on our agenda to do that. So thank you for coming in and asking that question.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Bremner?
City Administrator, what is the Tier 2 portion of the retirement system?
In general, what does it mean?
Yes.
So tier 2, tier 1 for IMRF and some of the police pensions said, you know, it dictated how many years you had to be in the system and when you could start drawing on the retirement, you know, retirement ages and how much you get and everything. When this first came about, the pension crisis kind of first reared its head, the answer was to create a tier 2. which basically said, okay, we're going to put caps on how much pension you can get. Tier 1 was uncapped prior to that. Tier 2 says we're going to cap that so that we're limiting future exposure. It also pushed retirement ages back 5 years. So it allowed a little bit of relief on the system on kind of those burdens. Because in the past, I mean, not that they don't have it hard now, but you know, back in the day, it was firefighters would literally use their beards as filters, you know, and their life expectancy was, they didn't live much past 50, 55. It was a significant reduction in life expectancy because of all the inhaling, you know, irritants and all asbestos and whatever else. Well, a lot of that safety gear has improved that to the point where life expectancies are much more closer to just the average person. So when these were first set up and you could retire at 50 as a firefighter or a police officer, it's morbid to think about, but you only had to pay those pensions for 5-10 years. Well, now you retire at 50, you have to pay those pensions for 20-25 years. And that longer life expectancy created a significant burden on the pensions. So they said, okay, let's push those back under this tier 2 to more align with those issues and help reduce this. But it didn't have, especially when you have a kind of a finish line of 2040, it doesn't address fully the issue. But that was, those tier 2 were an attempt to kind of relieve a little bit of the pressure on the system. If that answers your question.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so will the, I think most of us are here tonight to find out about our taxes. Okay, what happened is that I've noticed that the value of our property has gone up. So does that mean that our taxes are also going up? And how will the nuclear plant, whatever money you get for that, how will that affect us?
So, great question, with a complicated answer. So I'll try and keep it as simple as possible without going into too much. A lot of times people go, oh, my property values went up by $50,000, I'm going to pay through the nose in taxes now. The formula for taxes is we ask for an amount, and all it is the value of your property times the rate to get that amount. So if we ask for $1,000 from you, if your property is $100,000 or $200,000, it doesn't matter what that value is, we're going to collect $1,000 from you. So what happens is if your property value doubles, the way the formula works is the rate drops in half to compensate that, because it still comes to that $1,000, okay? So increases in property values, as long as increases are happening community-wide, which they have been, reduces the rate. So that's one of the reasons why, even though we're increasing the levy before the abatement, the rate's going down, because property values are going up by more than our levy, which brings the rate down. Where that doesn't come into play is we ask for $1,000, rates, your property value doesn't matter, it's going to calculate. But now we ask for $1,500, your property value is going to go up or down, but we're going to collect $1,500 regardless. So your taxes are going up every year because all of the taxing bodies are asking for 3, 4, 5% more. It doesn't necessarily have as much to do with the property value as it does taxing bodies are just asking for more each year. That's why your taxes are going up. Now, if your property value, if you do a big improvement or something like that, that spikes the value way up by more than you've had in the past, yes, that's where it's going to come into play that your taxes would go up. But an increase in value doesn't necessarily mean an increase in taxes.
So in general, do you think our taxes will be going up this year?
I can only speak to the city's portion. Your city taxes will be going down. The other taxing bodies, as Mr. Jones said, like we don't have control over what they do with their levies or what they do with their abatements. And that's been a big portion of the increase, has been like the schools and the other taxing bodies. If they follow the abatement rules of this funding this year, I would expect your taxes to go down, but I can't speak for what they're gonna do. We can only control what we do. So I'm not trying to dodge your question, but I can't tell you yes or no, because I don't, if I had control over the levies of the other taxing bodies, I'd say they're gonna go down. But I don't have that control. All I can say is the city's portion of your taxes will go down.
And we've
So the
said,
nuclear plant, does that have an effect on the residents' taxes, or would you be used for something else?
No, that's what, so the funding that we're getting because of the nuclear plant closure, that's what we're using to be able to reduce the city's taxes. So if we're abating $1.5 million, that's because from the state, because of the nuclear closure, we're getting $1.5 million. So we're passing on that savings as tax reduction, the city. So that's where those funds are going, is to reduce your taxes.
Okay, now I know the schools and all the other places have their taxes, so when the school says, oh, we need such and such for improvement, well, do you guys go line by line and say, well, no, you don't need this right now, or whatever, or you just accept what they say? Exactly.
We don't have any say in
That's
accepting or denying what the schools do.
that's the school board members who are,
Right.
as I mentioned, are residents of Zion.
So how do you hold them accountable?
That's a great question, because the entire reason we fought for this money was for one reason: to reduce taxes. And for us to do it, we had to have the cooperation of the schools, because they're the biggest part of the tax base. So their board, which are members, and their superintendents have felt that that's not a biggest concern. However, since I've been on the commission since 2015, that's been one of the things that we've looked at the most. So we cannot control the other school boards. We've had chats with them and told them about the importance of what this means to our residents, but the answer that we always get is, what about the kids? I think it's important for kids to get a great education, but it's also important for our residents to be able to afford the necessities outside of paying for their property taxes, healthcare, housing, all the things that are rising now. This money that we were able to, this man did a lot of the work on this, our Administrator Nabel, the intent was to help reduce property taxes. But the other taxing bodies, the high schools, the township agreed to reduce the the park district and the library. But the two biggest commitments to tax dollars are District 126 and District 6. Not trying to throw them under the bus, it's just fact.
Well, and if I could add to that real quick, it may sound cliche, but in answer to your question, you asked the council, do we have the power to have a meeting with them or whatever? Statutorily, legally, they're all separate boards. We don't have the power, but you all do. Your votes for the school board members, you're attending their meetings, and I know it's a pain, you're not going to attend 10 different board meetings, but ultimately, you have the power to hold them accountable, to change the boards if you're not happy with their results, to voice your opinions, voice your concerns, ask the questions like you are here tonight. There's specifically a separation of power from us and the schools that all we can do is continue talking with them, but we don't have any legal authority to hold them accountable on this, other than we went to our legislators and said, can you change the language to say this has to be used for abatement? They did that. They listened to us. So we fought for that and got that done, but ultimately we don't have the power over the other taxing bodies. That comes from the public.
And we have led that charge as a city government because that's what we hear from our residents on a regular basis. And it's been, one of our commissioners told me something years ago. He says, I wouldn't run my campaign on tax reduction of property taxes. However, in listening to the people in this community, that was the thing that was facing us most. There were a couple things. There were high property taxes. There was crime. Crime has been reduced. Our housing markets have gone up because we have now more home ownership. That's why property has gone up. 6 years ago, only 40% of the people in Zion owned their homes. That meant there were 60% rental properties. Not that we don't need rental properties, but in the last 6 years, that has changed. So you've got people coming into Zion, buying homes here and seeing the value. That helps distribute that money out over our tax base, but again, it gets down to spending. And we've had to live within our budget for years. And that's what we're asking the other taxing bodies that take in more money to do the same thing. But your voice is crucial to having that heard. Yes, sir.
Something you said, you guys orchestrated to get that seizure money from the feds. So when you had to get the other bodies on board to get that money, but you orchestrated it.
Yes.
Once you got it, they punked you?
Essentially, it was, no thank you, we need this for capital
Right.
improvements. And I said, wait a minute. We did this in the spirit of trying to help our community. That's why we did it. We were gonna get this money, the decision was made, we could say, hey, give us the $15 million, the city, and we'll distribute it. But we were also looking at the other taxing bodies that were having difficulty. You see the improvements in the Park District. You've seen the improvements in the library. You've seen it at the schools, but there's a cost to all of it. And so while we've done the work and we've made the suggestions, they said, we've got a better way to do it. Go find more money.
And so once
This young lady has,
you gave up control, once you got it and gave everybody their piece of the pie, you had no say on what their piece.
well, what we had saying was going back and putting in the legislation that 75% of it had to be used for property tax abatement. That's where it came down to. When we said, okay, we've got this money and you can't agree on what you're gonna use it for, we really pretty much have the control of what it will be used for. So we have the relationship with our state rep and state senator. And we said, if this is the case, then we need to make sure that 75% of it goes back to property tax abatement from everyone. So that's what we did. We put it in legislation, and that's when we had a meeting with a couple of the leaders from one of the other taxing bodies. They said, well, you should have put it in the legislation. And I'm thinking, okay, you can't just, it can't just be a money grab. We've got to look at what's best for the entire community. And our community consists of adults that are trying to make ends meet, not just kids, not just students.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I've seen the tax papers that come out each year, and I have been privileged to see ones from other next door cities. I've seen Zion's, the one that I get from my property, and then I have seen ones from other communities, like Waukegan. And my biggest query is, why does Zion have so many people taking money from this community to contribute to their different funds? And I've come over here and I've asked. I've never gotten a satisfactory answer as to, we pay CLC, we pay District 6, we pay 126, we pay the one across on the other side of Lewis, I can't remember, I don't even know the school district, the township. we pay, like, there's like 10 of them listed on there that the homeowners all have to contribute to these different funds. And then I look at Waukegan and they have like 6 on there. And I'm like, wow, that's a big difference in how much Zion's community members have to pay versus our neighbors. And we all use the same schools. We all go to CLC. Zion pays CLC, Waukegan does not. Okay? We all go to colleges. Zion pays into different people's funds. They do not. They pay to their public school and they pay for a few of them. That's it. Why do we have our hands in so many different people's pockets to fill it up?
So I can address that, man. So Waukegan, is the example. Let me switch over so I can see it. Waukegan's the example you use. They are a consolidated unit school district. So all of their schools from like kindergarten through high school is a single taxing body. So they're paying for all of the schools just on one line. Whereas like we have the high school and we have the elementary school. So that's 2 entities, but added up together, it's the same as Waukegan's one entity because they consolidated it all as a single school. Additionally, Waukegan, I'm not sure of this, but when the mayor said we're not Chicago, for example, Chicago, the park district is under the city, the township is under the city. We don't have that, but if it was going to be a single line item, all of those 3 would be added up and be one. So it's not just the number of units, of governmental units. In Illinois in general, we have more governmental units than anywhere else, which is insane. But schools could consolidate down like on Waukegan and be a single district, but that's a legislative or that's a board issue. That's people, boards and stuff, giving up control of that stuff. But that's the reason is it's the same, it's just structured differently.
But why are we, let's forget about the elementary and the high school. Let's talk about us paying CLC.
CLC is still on Waukegan's bill as well as the Forest Preserve, North Shore Water Reclamation District. They might not actually be, they might have their own sanitary processing, I'm not 100% sure. But some of the county, the actual Lake County government, those are all on Waukegan's as well.
The percentages that homeowners are required to pay, I can't even say contribute, we are required to pay yearly, is way more for Zion than what other cities are required for the same thing. If that is what you're saying, it's way more. Waukegan's taxes is $5,000-$6,000 per year. Here, homeowners are looking $8,000 to $15,000.
I don't disagree with that statement. I was addressing the question on the number of government units.
But it's way more. It doesn't. My point is that if what you're saying is correct, and we're both paying these different entities, then why is Zion's 3-4 so much more than the other cities? Why is that necessary? We should be paying, even if, I don't even want to pay more, but if we have to pay more, why does it have to be double, triple the amount?
Well, I'd have to actually look at what you're comparing to, but like
But
if
you
you look
just
at
said
Waukegan's
That
portion,
that we are both paying both, for the schools, for the forest preserve, and I'm willing to go with you on that point, and if that's the point, then why are we paying more than they are, and we're paying for the same thing?
So-
We'll always the forest preserve.
the schools, Waukegan, for example, the schools are on the tax bill, Zion, the schools are on the tax bill. What you have to look at is how much they're levying. That's the only answer. So Waukegan school might be saying, we're gonna levy this amount, but Zion schools are saying, we need more. That's the only reason. You have to compare line to line, and I can't answer for that.
I am going to say this and then I'll stop. I just want to say that currently Waukegan has the biggest school district and they're not charging nowhere near as much as Zion.
And I would bring that to Zion School's attention, but unfortunately, we don't, as we said, we don't have control over what they ask for. We can only control what we're asking for as the city. So as far as accountability for that, if you compare what the city of Waukegan's amount is on their tax bill with the city of Zion's amount on their tax bill, we could answer to that, but we can't answer to why Zion's schools are so much higher than Waukegan's schools. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Is there any way for there to be an audit, for there to be some form of accountability as to where this money is going and why it has to be so much?
and that goes back to the question we were addressing before, saying we don't have authority over their school boards. That's where the public has to put pressure on them for accountability of what that's there for. Make the boards answer for that, and if that's unsatisfactory, get new board members. That's who has the public is who has the power over the governmental units. But if they're not hearing that, if they're not getting that pressure, if they're not, these questions that you're asking us about the schools needs to be asked to the schools, because we don't have any power over that or any, any sway, so to speak, over the schools, other than we can ask them. But ultimately, the city does not vote on school board members or appoint school board members or pass school levies. Their boards do that. So those are great questions. They're just being asked in the wrong place.
I guess my point being is that I understand this financial thing that's going on, I understand how it works. But as a taxpayer, what I want to know is, see, I don't have a kid in school, but I don't mind supporting a school district. But I want to know that what I am paying, am I getting my money's worth? Are the rest of the kids in our district getting their money's worth? Are they producing good teachers? Are they producing good programs? Where do we find that information out to make sure that what they're collecting from us is right? Instead of just collecting and saying that they're doing things. Where's the accountability is what I want to know. Where do you go get that and say, well, hey, okay, we're paying teachers this much. Where does your school district sit at when it comes to donation? Where do you write that?
Well, they've got a site for that, and those are all the questions that the school board needs to answer, and they need to provide information. One of the things that we have worked to do is to be really transparent about everything that we're doing, so that when you ask, what are you getting for the services, whatever you're paying in taxes from the city of Zion, we'll have an answer for you. But you've got to ask that information from schools. There's a group called COPS.
Yeah.
That's
Citizens oversight on public spending or something like that.
They've been working closely and talking to the school to say, provide us with the evidence of the metrics that you're utilizing so that we can understand how our tax dollars are being used. That's crucial. They have to provide that information, or there's sites, I forgot the high school site.
The school report card, the State Board.
What's the other one? Go ahead.
The State Board of Education has websites, has information. So your question was an excellent one. The State Board of Education has a rankings of the schools and their relative value, because everybody knows that property values go up, and homes, we all want our homes to become more valuable, and we want our taxes to come down, right? We can all agree on that, right? We want to have a more valuable home. And people move into locations because of school districts often, right? Everybody knows that, right? And so but you need to find the quality of it, like you talked about. Like, you wouldn't go out and spend money on something that was worthless, right? That's your whole point. And so you can find out where school rankings are from number 1 to whatever the last number is on the ISB website, the Illinois State Board of Education website. And all these school districts in Zion and the state of Illinois should be listed thereon. If what we'll do is we'll have that website available at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be January the 4th.
No, January 16th or something.
January the 16th, I didn't mean to,
It's on the agenda. Those are your.
oh, it is on the agenda.
19.
January 20th. Or
No,
20th.
I'm sorry, geez.
January 20th. I didn't mean to lie to everybody, but
The
January
third Tuesday in
20th.
January.
The third
Right.
Tuesday.
The first regular scheduled meeting in January, we will have that website available for everyone to check it out. And just remember that you have your school board meeting, honestly, is right now. So the 126 or 6?
126.
So the high school board's meeting is literally going on right now. I can't, no, we love having you here. I think it's great that you're here. and we're all here.
Say that,
But if you really want to ask about your taxes, go over there. Yeah.
Well, and again, to your point on value, we can only be accountable for the city's portion. When you talk about an $8,000 tax bill, just to put it in perspective, about $1,200 of that goes to the city. So for that $1,200, you get streets paved, plowed, you get police, you get ambulance response, you get, like, all of those services come from that piece. I'm not disagreeing that $8,000, your total tax bill, is a lot. But when you look at city services for that $1,200, it's a different picture than the remainder of that being such a large amount. But those questions have to go to the school for their shares of it.
I would like to put out there that, unfortunately, Zion, I am in education. I would be honest about that and say that I work in the field of education. I have worked here. I am currently not in Zion anymore. I'm in Waukegan. And Zion ranks in the lower tiers for the national ranking for ISB and the school report card. This was research I had to do for my dissertation, and I was very disappointed in what I found out. With that said, we do not attract the families and the people that we need to attract in this community to bring the money in and keep it in. A lot of the people that we hire, unfortunately, come and work and they take it to other communities. With that said, as homeowners, I do live here. I own a home here in Zion, and one of the things I have been playing around in my head and I want to put out there is trying to ask for the people to have a certain percentage of employees living here to bring the money back in the city. Okay? Because if we, I don't care if it's $10,000 or $200,000. If you're giving these people are coming and earning this money, they're spending it in their community, and you can't fault them for that because that's where they live. Okay, so bring some of it back. If we're hiring 100 people, what about saying maybe 30% of those people have to live here? We put a requirement, a citizenship requirement, so that some of the money comes back, so that it's spent in the stores and it's spent locally, so that we get some of it back. Because you can't fault them for wanting to go home and shop in their local stores, their local groceries, that's where they live. They don't live here. And all of them leave at the end of the day. Bye.
And don't they get paid a little bit more if they're from another area and work here?
No.
No, they don't. But they take all the money and go.
I do see where it was looked up where if we in Zion Benton School District and they're asking so much of us, then they don't need to be 423 out of 679.
Again, you're preaching to the choir in terms of, we get people come here and talk about issues within the city that we have absolutely no control over. And what we've tried to do over the last several years is to educate people where to go and get the information so they can ask the proper questions. And you're doing them just at the wrong place.
Chicago Public Schools has a citizenship requirement for their employees. They do have a percentage where they have to employ people that live within a certain mileage from where they work.
Doctor, if I may, Mr. Chair. Doctor, there's a different the city of Chicago is its own unique entity. The city of Chicago is approximately 3 million people. It's a home rule unit. We are not. By law, we cannot impose residency requirements within the corporate limits of the city. That is not anything that we can control. It just is state law. I've challenged it and I've lost. So, other lawyers have challenged it and they have lost.
Okay, well-
So if I may, you said one of the goals should be to make sure that people have more income to be able to spend here, right? You said you
Yeah.
more local income. And that's what we're trying to do with the siege abatements. By reducing everyone's tax amount, the city can only control its own stuff. It's like I can only control my own stuff. By reducing the tax amount, we're infusing money into the community. By finding other companies who will come here with a lower tax amount, we will have more jobs and people to spend money. Yes, people do spend money at home, but they also spend money by their jobs. And I'm sure, Doctor, that you found that out in your dissertation too. Mostly by home, but also.
I hear what you say about, I've heard both you and the man over there talk about the abatements. And I question that, and I try not to touch it because this is my unique situation, because I had a massive, almost killing, detrimental increase in my taxes 2 years ago. And now, with the abatement, I am going back to where I started. I'm sorry, okay? And I didn't want to touch it. I really, really didn't want to say anything because you guys need to look at your history of how much you've been paying into your home taxes. It went up. So now that this abatement is being put into play, you're going right back to where you started. You didn't get a decrease. You go back to where you were before. I'm sorry. I really, really didn't want to talk about that because I know what I'm doing. And I know I'm stirring the pot, and I don't want to do that because I'm tired and I have to get up like 5 o'clock in the morning to get dressed. So, but that's what happened. It wasn't a decrease. It wasn't. It was an increase that is now putting us back to where we were. Check your blue forms and look at where you were a couple years ago and what's been happening. Track it. Pay attention to what's been happening. Okay? It was taken away first. It's already been taken away, and now you're going back to where you were. Sorry.
So I think your point is valid. To one of those said commissioners that made the point to the mayor about running on trying to lower taxes, it's for this exact reason, right? It's a very complex component. There's a lot of moving pieces that we only control a certain portion of it, right? And so from the point that you're making, right, of we are making wholeheartedly good effort attempts to lower the portion that we can, but then there's still that emotional piece of looking at that bill and seeing it go up or seeing it fluctuate in ways that you don't understand, right? So that's why our intent is not to try and lead with that and promise you, or at least I'll speak for myself, is to say that, yes, I guarantee you we're going to lower your tax bill because as soon as we lower one thing, your property values go up. So now maybe you're flat, right? So again, it's a very complex and moving piece. So I think that when you're trying to digest all of this, which is kind of a high bar for putting that on the average citizen to try and understand all of these different levels, right? But I think at the end of the day, what's been shared is if you really have a problem with the school and how they're spending money, or if you have a problem with the city and how we're spending money, then you go to that correct entity and you lobby those people that are on those boards and you lobby them directly because that is the power and the lever that you have to pull. And I think when you vote people in on the board, that's where that accountability is. Asking questions, looking at the information that's posted on the website, and seeing if we're acting in an accountable manner. I can speak for this board. As far as my time here, that's what we've all been attempting to do. But again, it's a very complex thing. And I would also say talk to your assessor. Look at the website. Look at your age limits. Look at other things that you can do to try and lower your taxes when those things are applicable to you. And don't just take it as, well, this is my bill. You know what I mean? So there are senior exemptions out there. There are income requirements, and again, all of that, I don't even want to get into all of that too. But again, that's where the research comes in. That's where us leaning on one another, trying to educate one another on when you understand someone's situation and you found out that there's a senior exemption and you know someone is turning 62. Hey, have you been down to, go and put in your exemption, right? And that's where, as a community, we come together to try and mitigate some of that. But I think all of your points are well stated, but again, at the end of the day, we have to direct it at its appropriate body, and, try and hold accountability within those bodies. So I just wanted to throw that on top of, what you were mentioning, because I think your point is well stated, but there's a lot of moving pieces to it.
The young lady in the back.
I've lived in a lot of communities before landing in Zion, and I've paid a lot less taxes in those communities. Now, it's been several years, but there's still, I compare taxes of all my old houses. And in those communities, we had more services. And that's my biggest complaint is if we're paying such high taxes, why does it take till 5 o'clock in the afternoon to get our subdivision plowed during a snowstorm? Or the recycling every other week and we pay more, and the leaves not getting picked up. Those are the things that I had in those other communities that still have them for less money. I don't mind paying the taxes if we got the services.
I think that's a fair question. That's something that we've been having internally. I think that it's come up for me personally because at about the time that I started interacting with the city council, there were a lot of budget cuts, right? There were a lot of things that were constrained to the city, things were in the red, and some of those things started to get cut. And so now that we've had a few years of being back in the black, I think it is a fair question to come back and say, what are some of the things that we may have taken away or reduced that we can now start to increase? But again, that requires us to be more fiscally responsible or take that second and third and fourth look at what are we spending on and why, right? But I think that's a fair question. I would say—
I've only been here 5 years, so in that time I've seen things disappear that when I moved here we had.
So the leaves I know is a big one. Our
Yeah,
public
I would
works,
still—
I would stand by, I say our public works is top of the line in the county when I go through other cities. I can't speak to individual subdivisions, but our plowing for Zion streets, compared to like Waukegan and Kenosha and some of the surrounding areas, has been, bar none in my experience. But like I say, so as far as the leaves,
Well, look, can I say something? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So when you talk about subdivisions, if you go onto the City of Zion website, and I did this because, trust me, when there's a hiccup in service, I get the calls. And if you look on the City of Zion website with the departmental, if you stay around for department commentary, our Director of Public Works will talk about this. Our first responsibility is to get the roads, the major thoroughfares covered. That's the east-west streets coming in town so that our first responders and people that are getting the work can get to where they get. Some of the subdivisions have HOAs. And if yours doesn't, some of them have gone away. But our first responsibility, and our Director of Public Works will talk about that, is getting the major streets taken care of so that people can get to school, so that you can get to work. So we've also, in dealing with the cuts that Commissioner Frierson was talking about, how many people in our Public Works Department between water and streets?
Water and street would be about 17.
About 17 people. So we have those, go ahead. We have these discussions about
Yeah, and there
trying
have
to.
been no cuts to the plowing operations at all. Plowing operations are the same and have been the same for many years.
Well, and that's the catch-22 that we have, and the discussions that we have is, there's 8 people in the, 8 or 7 in the street department?
10 street and 7 water.
Well, yeah, so to cover the entirety of the city. We also get hit, for example, replacing or resurfacing a street one block of street, we're talking $600,000 to $700,000 for one block of street. The $1,200 a year you pay to the city to cover public works, police, and fire, does not cover $700,000 for a street. So we have to figure out other ways to do that. But we get the catch-22 because if we wanted to do more routes, more plowing, it requires more staff, more trucks. It's $250,000 now for a plow truck. So to provide increases in those services, we'd have to increase our budget. Where does that money come from? Increases in taxes. So we're trying to control the taxes, but then that means we can't increase or improve those services over the staffing and the equipment we have. So it's a constant, well, we don't want taxes to go up, but we want services to improve. Well, if we improve services, taxes go up. And it's constantly that balance of trying to figure out, because we've had 40 to 60% increases in costs of asphalt, concrete, fuel, like all the stuff that makes it hard for everyone to live day to day, and the inflation that you're experiencing, the city still experiences as well. Our costs don't freeze either. So when we buy the concrete for the sidewalks, or the asphalt for the streets, or the fuel for the trucks, or the squad cars, or whatever it is, we're getting nailed with these too. So we're seeing, like I said, 40% to 60% increases in concrete, but we can increase our taxes 2.9%. So we have to pay that, we get a little bit more, and we have to figure out how to make the rest work with those, and still provide the same, at least the same levels of services that we have in the past. So it's a constant balancing act, and we have endless discussions about how to, where that sweet spot is of providing those services, more, less, and you're never gonna make everybody happy. Some people will go, the plowing's great, some will go, it's not. Some will say you pay too much, some will say I'll pay more. You know, we've had that where people go, if it went to the city, I'd be fine. It's the $6,000 that goes to the school that I don't find the value in. It's unique on an individual basis, but we take it seriously. We're all trying to do more with less and keep up those same level of services that we have. But always feel free to ask why we do what we do. There is a reason. If there's not, we better reinvestigate it, but feel this is the place to ask how we operate, what we do. Attend the dollars and cents meetings where we explain how these things work. Attend the quarterly meetings that the mayor talked about, but also attend the other taxing bodies meetings for that same accountability. We're happy to answer those questions.
Yeah.
And I wish I had an easy answer.
Yeah. Are there any more, we've gotten a little sidetracked. Are there any more questions about the tax levy? I think we've tried to be pretty thorough about that and where to go for additional information. Any more questions from our residents that are here? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Fisher.
Second.
Second by Stackhouse and McDowell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries. Item number 6 is citizen comments.
There were no comments tonight, Mayor, unless anybody else from the audience has any.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I noticed he said and talked about the services and saying, well, sometimes it's not about the physical equipment. It's about the people that's performing the service. Okay? Rather than come down the middle of my street and leave, I don't mind shoveling out my driveway, but once I shovel out my driveway, I gotta go out in the street and shovel the street to get into the street. Because all you did was come down the middle of the street. So sometimes it's not about all that other stuff. It's about who you got behind that wheel and how they take their job and the performance that they're performing when they're behind the wheel. They should be taking pride in shoveling that snow. That's their job. I don't care nothing about the physical equipment. If you're gonna come down there, I prefer you not even come down the street. If all you're gonna do is pile snow on this side of the street, so that when I shovel out my driveway, I gotta take my car and act like I'm flying out of the driveway to get into the street that you, the part where you shovel. So it's not about defending, it's all about performance. And that's my point.
All right, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your
One quick
comments.
question, when is that quarterly meeting we were talking about, is that scheduled yet?
No, we haven't scheduled it. We'll have to schedule it.
Okay.
And we send out notices. We typically send those out in water bills
We usually send a postcard
and
too
postcards too.
that notifies the dates.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7, consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held on December 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. Approval but not release of closed session minutes of a meeting held on December 2nd, 2025 at 7:26 p.m.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by Stackhouse. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0.
Bills, vouchers 150663 through 150817, drawn on Huntington National Bank, total $1,075,840.37.
Is there a motion to approve the bills?
I'll move to approve the bills.
Motion by Fisher,
Second.
second by Stackhouse. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 8, consider passing resolutions as follows. 8A, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funds for assistance for public sidewalk replacement and installation of handicap ramps for Director Ransom.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, attached is a resolution that the city is required to pass for submittal of an application for the 2026 Lake County Community Development Block Grant. Staff is seeking the grant assistance from Lake County for sidewalk replacement and installation of ADA ramps at various locations throughout the city. If the grant is approved, the grant will provide $100,000 towards an estimated $130,000 project. Staff requests and recommends approval of the Lake County CDBG resolution.
All right, is there a motion to pass this Community Development Block Grant?
So
funds?
moved.
Motion by Stackhouse,
Second.
second by Fisher. Any questions or comments by the commissioner? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 8B, authorizing local fund match of federal funds for the 33rd Street resurfacing project from Galilee Avenue to Sheridan Road per Director Ransom.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, resolution authorizing to match federal funds. Attached is a resolution to participate in the surface transportation grant for improvements to 33rd Street from Galilee Avenue to Sheridan Road. This program provides federal funding for 80% of the construction observation and construction costs, including an approved resolution to participate in the federal grant and to authorize the match of federal funds gives the city's application priority. Federal funding is estimated at $1.3 million. The city's estimated share cost is $395,000. Staff is recommending and requesting approval of the resolution for local public agency agreement for federal participation in the federal fund match. Funding for this project is dependent on approval of the application and is projected for fiscal year 2030 or fiscal year 2031 from the motor fuel tax budget.
All right, is there a motion to authorize the local fund match for the federal funds for the 33rd Street resurfacing project?
So moved.
Motion by Stackhouse,
Second.
second by McDowell. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9, consider passing ordinance as follows. 9A, authorizing the lease of a portion of property located at or about the 18th Street right-of-way, owner Lucian Ventures LTD for parking, per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lucian Ventures LVT is requesting to renew the lease agreement with the city for the use of the 18th Street right-of-way containing approximately 2,430 square feet for access within the parking lot.
Is there a motion to authorize the lease?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by Fisher. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor King.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9B, authorizing the lease of a portion of property located at or about the 23rd Street right-of-way, owner MJK Group LLC for parking for Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. MJK Group LLC is requesting to renew the lease agreement with the city for the use of the 23rd Street right-of-way containing approximately 1,584 square feet for the placement of 5 parking spaces.
Is there a motion to approve the lease?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by Stackhouse. Questions or comments from the commissioners? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9C, authorizing a lease for a portion of property located at or about the 22nd Street right-of-way, which is near 2175 Sheridan Road, owners Rampo Realty Group LLC and/or Rabula Madi for access to parking per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Rampo Service Corp. is requesting to renew the lease agreement for the city for the use of 22nd Street right-of-way containing approximately 2,070 square feet for access for parking.
Is there a motion to approve the portion of the lease?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by Stackhouse. Questions or comments from the commissioners? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell? Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9D, authorizing and approving an agreement with Emergency Services Marketing Corps, DBA, I am responding in the city of Zion for dispatch communication services for Zion Fire and Rescue Department per Chief Street.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. I'm requesting approval of the attached service agreement with I Am Responding, which is an app-based platform that assists with sending emergency incident information to our staff electronically. This is similar to the e-dispatch system we've been using and helps provide valuable information to our crews in real time as the dispatch center is entering information into the call as it's developing. The attached agreement locks in pricing for 5 years and will be a budgeted expense each year. I would just add too, I realize this isn't a high-ticket item, but it is entering into a contractual service agreement, so that's why I have to bring it to you for approval.
All right, thank you, Chief Street. Is there a motion to approve the agreement with Emergency Services Marketing Corps?
So moved.
Motion by McDowell,
Second.
second by Frierson. Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Chief, I was curious how this is supplementing the e-dispatch, like functionally, how are these messages going to be received?
Yeah, so our firefighters and paramedics have an app on their phones, and as dispatch enters specific information about a patient or whatever on an EMS call, it shows up and they see it.
Got it.
And it's really a slick system, and it's just going with the times. We never would have thought of anything like this 10 years ago, probably, but it's using the technology we have available today to really help our crews.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9E, authorizing and approving the purchase of essential equipment, ambulance, American Response Vehicles, Inc. for the city of Zion per Chief Street.
Thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. Attached is a detailed sales agreement proposal for a requested purchase of our next ambulance, projected to begin production in third or fourth quarter 2028. It's hard saying that date, but they're still 3 years out these days, and completed in fiscal year 29. As agreed upon with Fleet Maintenance and Finance, this order is necessary to the lengthy production lead time and in keeping with our apparatus replacement program. Our oldest ambulance, which is a 2014 Ford with 143,000 miles on it, will be sold at auction, which will offset a small portion of this purchase. I'm requesting approval of the purchase agreement as presented for a total cost of $350,881. The purchase will be contracted through the HGAC Cooperative Purchasing Program, and that's the Houston-Galveston Area Council, which already conducts the bid process on components of the ambulance. Also, please note this figure does not include the power load stretcher system that will be necessary to be purchased separately. I'll work with finance and other contacts to secure the additional purchase, and also look to find potential grant funding to assist. Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion? So moved. Motion by McDowell,
Second.
second by Fisher. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9F, capping building permit fees for an early childhood center, Start Early, to be located in the city of Zion. For Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Start Early is requesting the cap building permit fees at $120,000 for Educare Lake County Development located at 1800 27th Street. This request came in last minute, and we have all the information to calculate all the engineering, excavating, and fire department fees. The total construction cost is estimated at $48,895,634. Building permit fees are 2.2% of up to $2 million, which totals $44,000. The remaining $26,895,634 is calculated at 0.75%, totaling $201,717 for a total permanent cost of $245,717. I have since been able to get estimates from engineering and the fire department. The engineering estimated fees for taps and engineering and excavating, $49,657. And the fire department fees estimated, and part of this is third-party review fees, is $10,000. Total permit cost of $305,374.
Okay, do we have a motion, or do we need discussion?
I think I have to make a motion first, so, I would actually make a motion to deny the request as submitted for the cap. Well, I guess I gotta wait for a second, but that would be my motion, is to deny it as a cap on building permit fees.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Frierson and a second by Fisher.
Yep.
Remarks?
I think that it's, because this is last minute, it doesn't, and it hasn't given us really a lot of time to assess this, but basically they're asking for less than half of what we would normally request. So what's the reason for the offset?
So, if I may, I think in the secondary letter, they provided some reasons for the increase in overall budget construction costs. There was some additional repairs and lining for the sanitary line. And so there's just been some increase in cost, which, again, I think all of those reasons are valid, and I fully support the project. However, I have a challenge with approving it in the way that it was submitted, because it doesn't leave our administrative fee schedule intact. And this is coming in as basically a request for an incentive. And so I think if we're going to do an incentive, we should do that through actual policy and keep that separate from messing up the integrity of our fee schedule for building permit fees.
Okay. Any additional comments?
Are you asking to deny or to table? That's what I don't know, that was my question, yeah.
My motion was to deny.
It was. But then the question was, it came in late, the second came in with a comment that it came in late, and I need more information, and I just want to, or at least in part, I just want to make sure we're all clear about what we're doing here tonight.
So the question, I guess, as our city attorney said, do we want to table it to get more information?
I would be okay with further discussion if we tabled it. If someone would like to amend the motion.
Well, you could do a motion to, all right, so the motion to table would supersede a motion to deny. A motion to lay it on the table until January the 20th, which is the next meeting, as set forth in our packets, would supersede a motion to deny. If that's what you want, and I just, when the comment came in that this, I need more information because they didn't come in, I was like, that's to me sounds more like a table, but I want to make sure, whatever we want, well, procedural, we'll make sure it works, whatever you guys want.
All right, so the discussion, there's a motion to table, and we have a second.
I will second a motion to table.
All right. Any additional comments or questions? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you for the clarification. Counselor?
Sure.
Yeah, and Commissioner? All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9G, authorizing the acceptance and/or acquisition of easements pursuant to an access and utility detention facility and stormwater drainage easement agreement for Start Early per Chief Barton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. In order to construct, excuse me, the early child care center at the Start Early site, Start Early and the city were granted easements. The easements from the Zion Park District to the city and Start Early are for: 1, stormwater discharge and a stormwater detention facility, and 2, temporary construction of the same. Start Early and the city were also granted easements from Zion School District Number 6 for: 1, the construction use of a stormwater sewer line from the Start Early site and the detention facility to an existing stormwater sewer line in a public street stormwater sewer easement. 2, construction and use of utility lines to connect to the public infrastructure located in public street and vehicular and pedestrian access to the school district site. And 3, temporary construction for improvements. I respectfully request approval of the agreement as presented.
All right, is there a motion to authorize the acceptance and/or acquisition of easements pursuant to an access and utility detention facility?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by McDowell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Or do we have any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 10, discussion, authorization, and approval. 10A, consider approval of the renewal contract for HVAC maintenance for city facilities per Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Northern Weather Makers has had a maintenance contract with city facilities for the past 14 years. During this time, they've been able to maintain our aging equipment. Staff is recommending to renew their annual contract for $17,821.
All right, is there a motion to approve the renewal contract for HVAC maintenance?
So moved.
Motion by Stackhouse,
Second.
second by McDowell. Questions or comments from the commissioners? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 10B, consider zoning docket 25Z16 and ordinance recording a plat of consolidation per Director Ianson. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Oregon Asset Management LLC is requesting approval to consolidate PIN number 0301400041 and PIN number 0301300046 for the purpose of development. At the December 4th, Planning and Zoning Commission is recommended to approve the plat of consolidation with the condition once the county assigns new PIN numbers from the plat of subdivision that will be added prior to recording the consolidation.
All right. We have a motion and a second.
No.
So moved. I'll make the motion to approve the
Second.
consolidation.
Motion by Frierson, second by Fisher. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 10C, consider zoning docket 25Z20 and ordinance requesting a plat of consolidation of 2005 Horizon Court, 2009 Horizon Court. Per Director Ianson, Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Horizon Court Properties is seeking an approval for the final plat of consolidation of 2005 Horizon Court, number 0418401001, and 011, and 2009 Court, Horizon Court, 0418401012, to serve as a principal use. It has recently purchased these properties to operate an excavating sewer lining company. At the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission, they recommend to approve the plat of consolidation.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by Stackhouse. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 10D, consider zoning docket 25Z21, an ordinance requesting a variance from section 102-1288B of the Zion Municipal Code to continue to allow the use of gravel for parking and equipment storage for property located at 2005 Horizon Court. Per Director Ianson, Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you, Your Honor. Horizon Court Properties LLC seeking a variance from section 102-128E of the Zion Municipal Code to continue to allow the use of gravel for parking and equipment storage for the property located at 2005 Horizon Court. This property has been gravel parking and equipment storage for many years. At the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission, they recommend to approve the variance.
All right, is there a motion to consider the zoning docket and ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Frierson,
Second.
second by McDowell. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries. Item number 10E, consider approval of the City of Zion 2026 annual meeting calendar per Administrator Nabel.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. At the end of each year, we're required to adopt holidays as well as city council meeting dates for the subsequent year for posting. So I would recommend that we adopt the holiday and city council meeting schedule as presented for 2026.
All right, is there a motion to approve the City of Zion annual meeting calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Stackhouse,
Second.
second by Fisher. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Before we go into number 11, departmental commentary, we do have a representative from Start Early here, and we'd like to take a 5-minute recess just to talk to Start Early to make sure that the tabling of the
item doesn't delay.
yes, doesn't mess up the funding for the overall project.
Sure.
We have a motion?
Motion, yes.
Motion
To
by-
go into recess?
Yes. Second, Fisher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. You can approach the podium, please. Thank you for being here this evening. If you can just address us at the podium, it would be great. Oh, we're on recess? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. By McDowell. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Item number 11 is departmental commentary. Director Ianson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy, safe New Year.
All right, thank you. Director Ransom.
Real quick, we have entered main break season, water main break season. The freeze-thaw cycle is usually a leading cause of water main breaks. Water main breaks are unpredictable and can happen any time of day or night. When they happen at night, unless there's, excessive flooding, usually we don't find out about them until the morning when, daylight lets everyone see them. If you do see a large amount of flooding in the road or alley, please do not drive through it. Because the road could be compromised and cars have gotten lost rolling over water main breaks. During regular hours, call Public Works at 847-746-4060. And after hours, call the police non-emergency number at 847-872-8000. That is it.
All right, thank you, Director Ransom. Chief Street.
Good evening. Just same wishes as Director Ianson. Merry Christmas to everybody, and probably the last reminder of the season to keep those Christmas trees watered. Dried out trees can sure burn in a hurry. So have a good week, everybody.
All right, thank you, Chief Street. Director Bronson.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I echo my colleagues in wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And if you have family in town, be sure to take them to our local businesses and support your local businesses here in the community.
All right, thank you. Chief Barton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Just wanted to echo the sentiment of Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But also a reminder for folks to drive safely, get to where you're going safely, don't drink and drive in those holiday parties. I know that people can get carried away. But then one last reminder to just check on your neighbors. And if we do have a snowfall or snow event, please make sure you help them snow blow their sidewalks and driveways, as elderly folks tend to have more heart-related events this time of year. So just keep an eye on them.
All right, thanks, Chief Barton. Administrator Nabel, yes.
I'm gonna talk about humbug just to be different. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. But just to follow up on what the mayor said earlier in the meeting, it was a quick pass, but it's a huge success for us. Just so everyone knows, the City of Hope applied for property tax exemption for the hospital. That would have affected us to the tune of the community's property taxes to the tune of $4.6 million. We contested that, we fought for that, and we were successful at the Board of Review where they denied the application, they denied the exemption. So for the third year in a row, we've been successful in fighting that off. It's now goes to the Illinois Department of Revenue for their ruling. They did deny it last year. We would hope it's the same results because it was essentially the same application. But again, in our effort to kind of fight to maintain property taxes at reasonable levels, that was a huge win for the community.
Yeah, great job today presenting the information, Administrator.
Thank you.
Just to change things up, Maligayang Pasko.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I think the clerk's gonna need you to spell that.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
All right.
Yep, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and thank you for the visitors that came out tonight, and everybody just be warm. Bundle up, don't let the hawk find you.
Yep. Just happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
I just want to make, I have much less interesting than Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, or Holiday of the Truth. I want to make sure the clerk was aware, I think I had a malaprop. The motion was tabled to December the 29th, 2025. Thank you.
All right. And I too would like to thank all the residents that came out tonight to ask questions and voice their concerns about property taxes. Again, we've said this for years, that we welcome our residents coming in and getting information to be informed about what's happening in their community. And so much of what we have done or what we continue to do is direct people to the right resources. So it was a great spirited meeting tonight. We really appreciate everyone coming out. And also have to announce that Northwestern won tonight, 86-70. I usually do the radio broadcast for the team, but I had more important responsibilities tonight, the city council meeting. And also would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, for some of the different Christian holidays like St. Stephen's Day, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, and even the ancient traditions such as Yule and Catholic observances like Las Posadas. Wish everyone a healthy and safe holiday. Spend time with your family. And I was going to read something today for our commissioners, if you would give me 1 second here. It was something that I came across earlier today as I was looking online at different things. And sometimes I feel that we as a city, with all the things that we accomplish, when we come to a meeting sometimes and we get inundated with questions or items about what's happening with the city, I think we sometimes lose track of the good things that we've done throughout the year. And I came across something today that I don't think I can find now.
Is that what you sent me earlier?
Yes.
I'll send it to you.
You must have deleted it. But I think it's kind of some affirmations about some of the things that we do throughout the course of the year, that sometime in our effort to appease our residents, to make sure that we are communicating the way we should, the way we are trying to improve our services in every aspect of our operations, we get lost in maybe what we haven't done. And the road we are on is one that we are looking for constant improvement. And some of the things that we've improved over the years, I think, has been very evident, and sometimes we forget. So I just wanted to remind everyone just about taking the opportunity at the end of the year to not beat yourselves up, and it sounds something like this. December is a reminder that everything you went through this year had a purpose. The chaos, the calm, the endings you didn't expect, and the beginnings you didn't plan. It all shaped you. It all prepared you. This month isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about honoring how far we've come. Slow down, breathe, and trust that this season is preparing us for what's next. So as we go into the holiday season, let's all keep that in mind, not only for our council members, but our residents as well. And I always like this quote, Frederick Douglass, I believe in 1787, 1791, said, without progress, without struggles, there isn't any progress. We've had our share of struggles, we made a lot of progress. And we've got a ways to go, but we've got the right people on board to make sure it happens. And with that, I'll move on to item number 12, which is announcements. December 24th, 25th, and December 31st, New Year's Eve. City offices are closed for the holidays, January 1st. January 6th, the first meeting, which would be the first meeting in 2026, that city council meeting has been canceled. The next city council meeting will be the third Tuesday in January 2026, 6 p.m. There's a Zion Township Board meeting followed by a Zion City Council meeting at 7 o'clock. Again, thanks everyone for coming out tonight and your patience as we answered questions from our residents and I had a chance to talk with the representative from Start Early about a very important project coming to our community, which has to do with schooling and Start Early, educating some of our younger residents in Zion. Item number 14, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Frierson.
Second.
Second by Stackhouse. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye, motion carries. All right.